Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. This upcoming Sunday, the 25th of Kislev, we will celebrate the holiday of Chanukah. Chanukah, we know, it's a holiday in which we publicize the miracles, the power of God who intervened and saved the Jews from annihilation, from spiritual annihilation. And also he won our war. We were a few against many, and we were victorious. And the 8 days in which we light the menorah, commemorate the miraculous lighting of the 7-branch menorah in the Beit HaMikdash, which we only had a little curse of oil that would have lasted 1 day, and Hashem made a miracle for us, and it lasted 8 days. So the number of the branched menorah in the temple was 7 branches. In our days, we light a Chanukah, which has 8 branches. So the 7 in the Jewish tradition is a number that represents a state of natural perfection. It's part of the natural world. So number 6 is the 6 days of the week. Number 7 represents Shabbat, which is a day on itself. It's a day that it's more elevated than the other 6 days. The other 6 days represent the world, the mundane, the work. And the 7th day represents our neshama, our soul. But then comes Chanukah, and it asks us to light 8 days because of the miracle. And the 8th represents a state of supernatural perfection. For example, the circumcision is done on the 8th day, and the 8th day is a supra-rational day. It's a day that's above nature. It's not even part of this world. So the Baal Shem Tov, which was the founder of Hasidut, of the Hasidic movement, he possessed a special love for the holiday of Chanukah. For him, this holiday was very, very special. It was the one that he loved the most. And he says that the Chanukah candles represents the innate gift of the Jewish soul for spreading light and illuminating the whole world, even the non-Jewish world. So the Chanukah lights not only illuminate us as a people, but it brings light to the whole world. And the Baal Shem Tov message spreads by the Jewish soul stresses both that God creates a nature anew at every moment, like he's recreating nature every second of the day and the night. He's recreating the world, and at the same time he permeates it with a supernatural power because of its ability to unite the natural with the supernatural. So the light of Chanukah will eventually bring the redemption, the times of Mashiach. This is the light that was created on the first day, which Hashem put aside, and the candles really shine this light that is being kept for the times of Mashiach. And when we sit and we look at our candles and we meditate on them, what we're gaining is vision of the times of the Mashiach, of redemption. So today I'm going to talk about the dreidel, which is a toy, actually, that is used in Chanukah. The children like to spin the dreidel while they're watching the menorah, while they're watching the candles. And it's a very popular game. In the times of the Greeks, the Jewish children had the dreidels because they used to take them to the forest to learn Torah. And the moment that the Greeks would come and see them learning, what they would do was they would like hide their books and make believe that they were playing dreidel, and in this way they were spared. So the dreidel has 4 letters. It has 4 letters. It has 4 faces, and the 4 faces, in each one there's a letter. And the 4 letters are Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin. And what they write, which is the first words of a phrase, it says, Nes Gadol Haya Sham. A great miracle occurred there. So the first thing to note is that the numerical value of these letters together is 358. Also, the numerical value of Mashiach is 358. The recurring motive found in the dreidel's hidden meaning is that of the Messiah and the redemption. So Chanukah is a holiday that really is gonna outlive this world. Once Messiah comes, all the other holidays are gonna disappear, and Purim and Chanukah are holidays that are gonna still be celebrated in the times of Messiah. So we see here that the normal thing is that a great miracle occurred there, but when Jews started living in Israel, they said that they should change the shin for the letter pei, so it would say a great miracle occurred here. And it's interesting because then you would say, okay, the numerical value would change and it has nothing to do with Mashiach. But surprisingly, there's no coincidences. Hashem runs the world at every instant. And the numerical value, the sum of these other four letters with a pei instead of the shin, is 138. And this numerical value also corresponds to the name Menahem. And Menahem is one of the names given to Mashiach. According to the sages, also Mashiach appearing in the Bible as Semach is his name. So we see here that really there's a miracle in everything. Hashem is contained in every little thing. Even if we say, okay, we change a letter and everything, the meaning of the whole thing is going to change, but at the end of the day, it's the same meaning. So we see here that the dreidel, the shape of the dreidel, at the top is like is shaped like a top, and with a pointed bottom edge on which it can spin. So in the top it's like a square, and then it comes down like a triangle, and then it spins. And the spinning dreidel causes its square contours to fade, and it makes, when it's spinning, when you look at it, it looks like a circle. It doesn't look like a square top, it looks like a circle. So conceptually, the square refers to mathematical and syllogistic logic of the ancient Greeks, over whom the Maccabees were victorious, both materially and spiritually. And we see that the square comes to say it's talking about human rationalism. So you say like a person has such a squared mind, they can't get out of their square, or think out of the box. When you think out of the box, like you're getting out of that conceptualized way of thinking. So we see here that they practice their belief that a view of nature and life that is based on human rationalism alone is lacking. This is the Jewish point of view. We believe there's something more. It's not only what we can grasp in life. There's something more. There's much more to life than what we can perceive. For it is the infinite God who has no bounds that brings all of reality into being. So the problem with the Greeks, what bothered them about the Jewish religion, was that we had this supra-rational concept in our lives. Like we believed in number 8. We believed that there was something more, that we transcended, that we served a God that was very much in our lives. They believed that, yes, God created the world, but he went to play golf. He's not part of the everyday, every second minute of the world. And the Jewish concept is that Hashem not only is part of our life, not only is he part of the world, but he's recreating the world at every instant. Every second, he's recreating the world. So they couldn't come to that belief, and that's why they were so squared, because they couldn't think outside of the box. And so we see that the round, when the dreidel spinning, that it looks like round, it's what reveals the divine, because it's round. A circle is like it has no beginning and no end, and it continues and it continues, and it's something that it goes on. And this is how the Jewish people perceive the world. So the terminology of Hasidut, the round contours of the spinning dreidel represent the revelation of God's surrounding light. So the square is more about experiencing God's reality, of looking at life how it is. What you see is what you get. and the light of Hashem is contained in the square. But the Jewish perspective is that Hashem has a surrounding light. It's also not only inside, it's also outside. It's indwelling and it's outside of us. So he sustains all of reality at every instant. Just as a circle has no top and no bottom, God's surrounding light also is eternal. It has no beginning and it has no end. So the dreidel square shape represents the ever-present experience of God's inner light. And the capacity to reveal divinity changes from one part of nature to another, just as the ability to perceive God varies from one individual to another. So every person has a different way of perceiving Hashem. Each one of us has a different reality. And for each one, it's true. It's real. So you can be in a beautiful place and you're having a bad time, and for you, you're not in that place. Your reality is not the beautiful place. Your reality is what's going on in your mind, your pain. And a person can have no issues at that moment, and he's surrounded by this beautiful place, and he's really enjoying it. So you can have two people drinking piña colada, one next to the other. One is in the beautiful place, that's his reality, and the other one is worried to death with his thoughts, and he's not really in that place. So by meditating on the act of spinning our own physical dreidel, because we all have a physical dreidel, we connect and identify with the divine and show our willingness to see beyond the square and logic phase of nature and believe and tap into the infinite. So this is what Chanukah is all about. It's about taking us a step higher, allowing us to see the infinite, allowing us to surround ourselves with the miracles of the world, and not only be contained in what we can see, what we can smell, what we can taste, and we think this is what it is. So what's in a name? So the name of an object in Hebrew usually contains the essence of the object. The dreidel has three names. In Hebrew, it's called Sevivon, as the famous song Sevivon, sof, sof, sof. So in Hebrew, it's Sevivon, and then in Yiddish, it's called dreidel, which is the one that most people use, and in English, it's called top. And the most, we know that the most common name is dreidel, and this game is played usually with nuts or with coins, and the children play while they're spinning the dreidels, while the menorah is on and they're watching at the lights. And the four letters, each one has a different connotation, has a different meaning, a different Kabbalistic meaning. The shin is revealed the player when he plays the shin. If that's the letter that falls when the dreidel is spinning, you have to put money in. The nun, if you have a nun, then you put nothing. There's nothing happens. Then when you do the hay, you take half of what's in the pot. You take half, and if it falls on the gimel, then you take everything. So the shin requires the player to lose something, to lose a nut or a coin, and we have to understand that in the psychological realm, the shin corresponds to Malhut. Malhut is one of the seven emotional sefirot. It's the seventh one actually. But in the worlds, in the descent of the worlds, it's the seventh one in one world, but it becomes the first one in the world that's next to that world when it's descending. So the Malhut also is a faculty that gives us the ability to relate with our surroundings. Like Malhut is the one that contains all the other Sefirot. When you're aligned with your Hesed, with your Gevura, with your Tiferet, all your Sefirot are aligned, then the Malhut is the one that contains all of them. It's like the kingship, it's like royalty. And when we are aligned, when we are let's say, when we're aligned with our Sefirot, then we become people that understand that everything comes from Hashem. And this is what makes a rectified Malhut, is when you understand that everything comes from God. But an unrectified Malhut, what it does is that it gives a person a sense of lowliness in the psyche. Because when you don't feel that everything comes from God, then it makes you feel bad. When you know that everything comes from Hashem, even if you have a big loss, a big monetary loss, or even if something that is not comfortable for you happens, but you know it comes from Hashem, you're intact. You may be going through a hard time, but you're intact. You're not a broken person. But when you don't think that things come from God, but they're external, then that's when we feel that we become low. We become low. So when the Malhut is in a fallen state, it is because it lacks the ability to acknowledge that everything comes from Hashem. In its fallen state, kingdom becomes a breeding ground for the ego. It becomes a problem. And the problem is that instead of increasing our feeling of indebtedness to Hashem, of looking at our life as a miracle, and like really Hashem really gives us so much, He gives us so much and we're so grateful, instead of having this feeling of owing God, then we become people that become greedy, we become entitled, we lose that. And then the problem is that the only way in which a person can get this situation rectified is when they start losing things, possessions. And that's why when the dreidel falls in the shin, we have to put money in. It's like you're losing, so you have to put in. Then we have the nun, and the nun represents a neutral state in which nothing is gained, yet nothing is lost. And the game continues with the next player, so nothing happens. When you fall into the nun, nothing happens. You don't put things in and you don't take anything out. And we explained the word sevivon in Hebrew corresponds to merchant. It means merchant. And really everybody here comes to do business. That's our job in the world. Not necessarily physical business, a spiritual business. We all come to gain. We all come to grow. We all come to become better people. And so there are people in this world that come here and they aspire to like make little noise, don't do a lot, don't shake the status quo. As I come in, as I go out, I don't change anything. And that's a loss of a life. Really, we have to come here, we have to steer the world, we have to move it, we have to shake it. And the day we leave this world, we really should live more in the world than when we arrived. We should be able to leave a legacy in the world when we're not here anymore. That they would say, look what this person left. He left a beautiful family. This person left a lot of knowledge. He built schools. He helped this person. This is the reason we're coming to this world. Not to leave it just as it is. We come here to perfect it. So every Jewish soul entered the world in order to be a merchant. We came here to make profit. We came here to gain and understand what is valuable and invest their time and energy in what is really valuable. So we have to know what's valuable. So valuable is Torah learning, doing mitzvot, our relationships, and with God and with other people and with ourselves. So those that only have an external sense for the importance of making profit, they spend their days chasing financial success. This is people that the only thing they care about is money, 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 and they don't care about anything else. They sacrifice their whole family for money. So here we see that the law of entropy, I had to research this word entropy, which states that everything in nature is continually losing ground to disorder. So entropy is physics. It's like things lose energy. Like, for example, a human being, we get old. With every year that goes on, we start losing our youth. The world starts getting old. Things start getting damaged. This is the law of entropy. This is a system. It's a natural system. And and the miracle here, what we see here, is that Hashem is continuously recreating the world. He's continuously infusing the world with energy so it can sustain itself. And there's a constantly repeating cycle. So we see that the sun rises every day on the east and sets on the west every day. It doesn't miss a beat. It doesn't miss a beat. Like if one day the sun wouldn't rise up, we would be a whole day in super dark. There would be no light in the world. So we see and we think this is the natural course of the sun. We think this is nature. But in reality, it's a miracle, because Hashem every day is recreating this energy so it can come out on the east and go to sleep on the west. And it's constant. It doesn't miss a beat. It's every day for the last 5,779 years. It's been every day this way. And we think this is nature. And in reality, it's not. It's miraculous. The Creator is continually infusing nature with more energy in order to sustain its steady state, and so things can feel normal. Normal as time passes, so does beauty. So if we see people, they go with the law of entropy, because we start losing our beauty. And today, thank God, we have so many things that keep us young. But in reality, this is a law of physics that applies. So when it falls on the noon, it's nothing. You don't gain anything. And the hay is connected to the Yud, because it's the two letters of the name of Hashem, Havaya, Yud K. And both of these letters, Yud and K, Hey, yield a prophet. They yield a prophet. These letters correspond to wisdom and understanding. So the Yud is wisdom and the Hey is understanding. And this is connected to mindfulness. Mindfulness indicates a state in which a person is wholly connected and guided by awareness of the Creator and His will, and He manifests through the Torah. So a person that is mindful is a person that is aware. It's a person that is not living in La La Land. He's not in denial. He's a person that's very aware of how the world runs. When he eats, he's mindful of what he's eating. He's mindful of not doing things that will damage him. This is mindfulness. And when the dreidel falls in the hay, then we take half. And we're going to see why. We take half of what's there. And mindfulness, there's two types of mindfulness. One is the experience of mindfulness based on a feeling of self-nullification, of bitul. And this is a motivator of wisdom, and this is a masculine energy. The mindfulness based on a feeling of joy is a motivator of understanding. So we have two motivators. One is wisdom, that is when we nullify ourselves, when we become ourselves little, we don't have big egos. And the second one is a motivator which gives us is joy. Joy is the motivator, and this is connected to a feminine entity. So the coming together of the masculine and the feminine counterparts is described as a whole and a half. And we see that the gematria of Yud and Hey is 10 and 5. So it's 15. So the difference between Shabbat and the festivals, for example, Shabbat is described as a holy for God, while the festivals are described half for you and half for God. And this also has those energies of masculine and feminine, which make it a whole and a half. And that wisdom is associated with whole and understanding with a half, because wisdom and understanding correspond to the letters Yud and Hey in the name of God, Havaya. And thus when we land on the Hey, we understand that we take half. We take half of the pot, because this is the energy of this letter. And then the last letter, which would be the Gimel, when it lands in the Gimel, we take everything, because the Gimel corresponds also to wisdom, and it represents a state of complete self-nullification, resulting in the players winning the whole pot landing. So we see here that the Hey is connected to the Yud, so it's a combination of the two, while the Gimel is complete nullification. So what we should aspire in life, I'm not saying we'll get there, but we should aspire to get there, is that we make ourselves little. We make ourselves little. We understand we're little people here that can do amazing things. We can be great in our actions. But compared to Hashem, we're tiny, we're little. So when we understand that there's a bigger force in our lives, that there's something bigger than us, then we're gonna live a life a much different life with a different awareness than when we make ourselves great. So to finish off, here it explains that the spinning at noon results in nothing. We use the physical concept of entropy. As it turns out, we can extend this analogy further to explain the rules pertaining to the 4 letters. What is important to gain from this shiur given by Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg is that the noon inspires us to look at the miraculous aspects of nature. That when we sit and we spin that dreidel, we should meditate in the miracle of existence. This is what we should have in our minds. In the miracle that we're here, that we're breathing, that we're still here against all odds. They tried to kill us so many times, physically, spiritually, you name it. We've been through it for the last 2,000 years or more, and we're still here. There's no common rationale to explain that the Jewish people have been able to survive all these years. And it's the promise of Hashem that we're going to be here till Mashiach comes. We're for eternity. We're here to stay. You read the news. Get rid of the Jews. They're putting swastikas everywhere. This poor professor in Columbia University, she gets into her office and there's swastikas and dirty Jew and all the... You know what? Tough cookies. We're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. We're here. We're transcendent. We go with the number 8. We're not people of this world. We're people of a higher realm. So the whole story of the dreidel really is to infuse in us these messages of eternity, of miracles, of understanding that Hashem is recreating the world at every instant. Not only that, he does things ex nihilo. He makes things something out of nothing. Only Hashem can do that. Only Hashem can materialize things out of nowhere. So when we look at this, we realize that really it's a miracle. We're a miracle. Life is a miracle. And we should be very grateful and look at everything in our life as such. So I want to wish you a happy, happy Chanukah, Hag Sameach. May the light of Hanukkah shine with you every day of your life, that the light of that menorah and the spinning of that dreidel infuse you with love for Hashem and gratitude and joy. And remember, live a little higher. Thank you.